Hey guys, and welcome back to the garage. Today we are going to be tackling our main power switch. We had a bit of an issue on our very last race last season where for some reason during the preparation into our third stint as we were doing our driver change, the car just didn't want to turn itself on, and it seemed to be all coming from this switch. You'd play with it, you get power, and go back and forth. So I think something's going on back there. I haven't taken it apart yet to go look, but we already have a replacement where we'll just put the new part in. That way we don't have to worry about anything, and it's guaranteed that everything's gonna work the way we're gonna intend it to. So today we're just gonna take apart my little makeshift switch panel dash area and replace the switch and maybe see what's going on the back side. As well, I know when I first got into this, I wasn't too sure how I wanted to set up the main power switch and how all of that was going to work. So we can probably look at that as well today, just to make sure that if you have any questions, you can kind of see how I wired it together, and maybe that's going to give you some options for your build or your car for yourself. So a lot of this I just kind of hodgepodge together myself in the garage. I'm by no means a master fabricator or a amazing metal worker. So you just kind of do what you have to do. You weld some stuff together, you build little brackets here and there to hold your stuff together. It's obviously the way to do it when you're on a smaller racing budget, which is usually the majority of us out there where we don't have tons of money to spend. So we try to make it work where we can, how we can. And that's very much how this is all put together. I do have some ambitions in the future to try and make a better one, maybe a little bit more efficiently laid out than what we have here. Oh, of course, dropping screws. I'll have to find that one. There we go. Put that where I'm not going to lose it. The one thing I don't like too much about the way I have my dash set up is I don't like having the gauges so low. I'm not too sure if they're actually in the camera frame or not. They should be, but the gauges we have down here, oil, pressure, temperature, and I mean it's just a volt gauge, but it still is somewhat good information, especially in an endurance race where you're concerned about the longevity of your vehicle. So obviously it needs to keep charging if you're going to last the whole race. But that's kind of just want to maybe place them somewhere else, rearrange where all the switches are. Most of these are reachable by everybody, but yeah, this is our plate, our dash, which I know you can't really see too well, but on the back side I have put together a bunch of OE switches and stuff and welded all that together, and I can already see what happened, and I am absolutely amazed that we've kept running and that we actually finished that race. The nut actually came clean off the main power supply. I'm gonna try to rearrange you guys here, see if you guys can see it. But just this guy right here, he's supposed to have a nut on him, and he clearly doesn't. He's very loose. So I am absolutely amazed that we finished that race. So I thought I was going to be reinstalling everything and doing all of that, but I don't think we're going to need to do that. I think I'm only going to need to put that bolt on, or put that nut back on, make sure she's on there tight, and then we should be good to go. But that might be on a list of inspection now before we start a race. But anyway, I think while we have it off, well, I can show you as to what I did. I'll try to get the camera in a better spot here so you can see. So this is the back side of the switch. This side here is power to all accessories. This side of the switch here which we've lost our nut as you can see, is actually the main power in. So I have no idea how we drove 4 hours like that, as well with getting it on the trailer, off the trailer, driving it around the garage and everything, where it just didn't fall off, and that's the main 12 volt to everything. So that's crazy, but we'll fix that in a second. But so we have main power coming in here, we have the power out of the switch to all the actual fuse panels, starter, all of that stuff, right? So that's your main battery interception. What this switch actually is also doing is there's 4 poles on the back side. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And what that actually is doing is there's an ignition switch in there. So I have the ignition wires coming in, and then when you turn the power switch off, it also cuts the ignition to make sure your car turns off. The other thing that's going on here is there's a alternator drain. So it comes from here, goes through a resistor to a ground, and what that essentially is doing is that when you abruptly turn your car off with this switch, the alternator could still have some charge in its circuit, charge on the wires, charge within its system. And what it does is, if it doesn't have anywhere for that to go, it can cause damage in the long run of repeated use over and over and over again of the alternator just being overcharged in that state. So that drain circuit allows the alternator to decharge and then set back to where it's supposed to be. So that's how we have our ignition kill switch set up. If you have any more questions, reach out in the comments. Maybe I can write up a diagram for you to try and help if you have questions, but hopefully you can learn something from that, as that's something that I struggled with when I first looked at this, and it took me a while to figure out how to do it right. So hopefully that helps you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.